What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. Sam here with the Sultan of Sando, Mr. Gab Lim. What's up, Gab? Masaya ka today, ah.
Isa lang ang masasabi ko, Sammy. Lasal is back!
Walang iya ka. Walang iya
I
ka.
caught you by surprise. We did not talk about this. I was reserving that. Lasal is back, baby!
To all our listeners out there, jinxing each other, jinxing their opponents' teams. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to you. It's a
Adamson is
thing.
back. Gumana yung Adamson is back.
Gumana yung Adamson is back.
I'll take all the jinxing and good juju that Ateneo can get. Lasal is back!
Huwag mo sabihin multiple times. Baka ma-double negative eh. So, magiging
Oh yeah, I said it 3 times. I said it 3 times.
Speaking of, let's hindi ko na alam paano ako magsisegue sa sponsor natin for today. Let's just go with the sponsors.
This episode, finally we get to feature them again, is brought to you by Get Blued and their Team Ateneo custom jerseys. Yes, finally nanalo ang Ateneo. Convincingly nanalo ang Ateneo. Finally.
Kala ko never na natin i-feature yung sponsor na to eh.
Rin, sabi ko, I was pretty worried we will never feature Get Blued or Team Ateneo again for this season. But here we are. Mas malaki ang bird natin. So, if you're proud na mas malaki ang bird ng Ateneo and you want to support the Ateneo Blue Eagles in their quest for a Final Four, at least a playoff for the Final Four on Wednesday, get yourself some merch from Get Blued and from their own Team Ateneo custom jerseys, which you can put your name on and pick your own jersey number. And if you're interested to buy, you can get 10% off your order by using our voucher code Boleros upon checkout. So, Ateneans, let's go! This is probably the biggest Ateneo Lasal game in 2 or 3 years. This is it. Ako kinakabahan ako. I feel the anticipation, and I'm sure a lot of Ateneo basketball fans do feel it too. I mean, this is our chance to at least get a playoff for the Final Four. Right? So, use our voucher code Boleros to get 10% off your order. At kung gusto nyong samahan ang Team Ateneo jerseys nyo at Get Blued merch nyo ng Boleros cap, don't forget to order our Boleros cap. Sam is wearing the dark brown one. I'm once again wearing the beige. The beige is my favorite, although the pink one is back in stock. That's the hottest selling one. The order link is in the description, and will also be pinned as a comment. So if you want to support the 3 Boleros and you want to rep the caps during the games, just click and order down below. Okay, Sammy, yung na-preempt ko na, mas malaki ang bird ng Ateneo this season.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about probably the biggest game yesterday, no? Ateneo versus Adamson. Ateneo surviving a late Adamson rally.
Grabe, kinabahan
The fourth quarter was bad.
Kinabahan ako nun.
Medyo kinabahan din ako as an Ateneo fan, but believe it or not, Ateneo is still alive. Adamson naman natanggal na. I think they ended the season 6-8 basically. So
6-8.
Gab, take us through that Ateneo versus Adamson game. You were there.
I was there. I could feel the tension in the small Ateneo crowd and the small Adamson crowd. I'm gonna go to the Adamson side first because Matt Erlon was on fire.
13 of the first 17?
Yeah, 13 of the first 17 points came from Matt. Actually, all 17 points came from Matt Erlon and Ray Allen Torres. They were the only ones to score those 17 points. So it was yeah. I do remember. I looked up at the scoreboard, just 13 for Erolon and 4 for Torres, and they have all the points of Adamson. And I think that's a story of the game for Adamson. I think Matt Erolon, the first half, got 16 of the 27 points of Adamson. He was on fire, but the rest of his teammates could not hit a shot. I think the game plan by Ateneo was definitely to to at least shadow yung Cedric Manzano, not have him
Oh
get
yeah.
the paint position,
Yeah.
not to allow him to get easy rolls to the basket to prevent his offensive rebounding. There was always help whenever Cedric Manzano would get it in the middle of the lane, or in the post. There was a second guy there in the middle of that paint, ready to double you, ready to help on Cedric Manzano, and it showed and that's where I wanna go first. Ateneo's defense in this game, terrific. Probably the best that they played since the first round
Mm-hmm.
Adamson game.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, that fourth quarter, they played great defense on Adamson. Ended up being a blowout, and in this game, that defense showed up. I thought their uh, coach Coach Tab's game plan on the defensive end definitely shut down a lot of the paint scoring for Adamson. Uh, Matt Erolon, of course, was on. I think if that's the game plan, just maybe gamble on them getting wide open looks, because Matt Erlon did get a ton of wide open looks. Was eventually shadowed. I think si Lawaki Espina, Dom Escobar were eventually put on Matt Erlon just to try to make him take more difficult shots. But the defense just fueled this game. That run in the second quarter, Sammy, was fueled by defense. I think it was 28-22, an Ateneo lead, and then Ian Espinosa hits a three from the top of the key. Waki Espino gets a steal, hits a three from the corner. There was also a steal by Espinosa, you giving it to a Dom Escobar layup. There was a
Mm-hmm.
jumper by Sean Toano of a pump fake. Ateneo was clicking on the offensive end and on the defensive end. I think this is one of the best games that they played. Definitely the best of the second round. Siguro you could count the UP game as one of their best games, even though it came in a loss. But it was one of their best games on both ends of the floor. Waki Espina started out. This was the Waki Espina from the UE game in the first round, diba? Where he was patient, getting to his spots, and hitting jumpers. Someone asked in the comments why Adamson U has hard time against Ateneo. I think may halong swerte on Ateneo side, and may halong malas din on Adamson side. I think Adamson just catches Ateneo on its good days, because these were shots that Ateneo was missing for majority of the second round.
Right.
I remember
Right.
that UST game, the shot,
UST specifically.
yeah, the shots that Espino was getting, that Ladi was getting in that UST game were not falling. In this game, they were falling. Dom Escobar was getting into the paint and scoring over and over again, was getting fast break baskets. Sean Tawanos mid-rangers were going in. Actually, if you look at the Ateneo stats, it's a very balanced scoring effort. I think 4 scored in double figures. Uh,
I
Escobar,
think yun din yung maganda. Yeah. Balanced
yeah,
lahat.
si Escobar, Ladi, Espina, and Toano all scored in double figures. I don't think anyone scored above 13 points. Actually, if you want to point to someone having a bad game, it was just Jared Bahay having a pretty ugly game. But I said this in our last episode when they lost to UP. Oh yes, it's good to see Jared Bahay have a good scoring game, but he doesn't need to score for a lot of times because he has a ton of scorers around him. He has Tuano, he has Espina, he has Escobar, he has Ladi, he even has Adili who can put it in the basket inside the paint. And overall, this was great execution by the Ateneo Blue Eagles. You know, finding open shots, rotating the basketball, side pick and roll with Escobar and Ladi, pick and roll with Adili and Bai. They were gi- giving chances to everyone on the floor. And I think yung that showed. And if you're an Ateneo fan, you have to feel a little bit of positivity. Kasi yung these past two games, they played their best. Yes, I said it. In their UP game, they might have lost, but I think they played a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I wanted them to play for majority of the season, and that's when it showed in the UP game. And I think that in this game, that the fact that their defense was able to catch up, that their offense was able to catch up to their defense, uh, showed a lot for me. In that fourth quarter, kinabahan ako, as I said, when Ray Allen Torres, I think, went on a personal 8-0 run. He was on
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
But once again, Coach Tab changed the coverage. From having Divine Adili in drop coverage, he decided to do a hard show. And I was shouting that in the arena. Divine, hard show, blitz or something. Just get the ball out of Ray Allen Torres' hands. And it worked. Now, should they have done it earlier in against UP when they were facing a very hot in Jerry Abajano? Maybe. They eventually did it yung right after yung Coach Tab yung called the timeout. But at least in this game, it came earlier. It stopped at 8 points. Diba? Medyo lumamig na si Ray Allen Torres at that point. And you were essentially safe because our offense was going nowhere. I think the extended 3-2 zone of Adamson really bothered Ateneo. They were forced to a
Confused
lot.
them.
Yeah, they were for some. I think Adamson got 4 or 5 blocks in the fourth quarter. I do remember si Espinosa was blocked by Ojericre. Si Adili was blocked by Ojericre. Si Ladi was blocked by I'm forgetting who blocked him. Si Franzman ata. Si Bahay was blocked by Franzman. They were Adamson's defense definitely stepped up, and you can see the desperation because they were down big. This was their season, and they stepped up their defense. But once again, Waki Espina, I think when the lead was cut down to 13, he hit off a Jared Bahay, excellent penetration, and then a kick out pass to the corner, knocking it down. And I think that was the nail in the coffin. When Waki Espina, you hit that three. I think it was around 2 minutes left. That sealed the deal for the Blue Eagles. And you have to love that they're hitting clutch shots despite scoring, I think, only 7 points in the fourth
7.
quarter. Yeah, a single
17 to
digit.
7 yung fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's kind of a semblance of the LaSalle game in the first round. And had a great 3 quarters, but then again in the fourth quarter, faltering, playing not to lose rather than playing to win. But I do have to give some kudos to the Adamson defense. I thought their defense in that fourth quarter was tremendous. They were not getting beat. AJ Franzman was doing a good job at the top of that 3-2 zone, was preventing any pass to the middle. But eventually, Ateneo's big lead for the first 3 quarters was enough to seal the deal. And you gotta love the momentum for the Blue Eagles coming into the Wednesday face-off against their arch rivals, the De La Salle Green Archers, because they're playing well. The past 2 games, they've been playing well, and hopefully we see this version of Ateneo play against La Salle. And I hope we see the crowd. There was a
Biggest game
minimal
of the
crowd.
season, literally.
Your biggest game of the season against La Salle. I do hope we see a bigger
Against their
crowd
rival.
on Wednesday. There was a minimal crowd, I would say,
Talaga?
yesterday. Siguro the patron side medyo puno. The lower box was half puno, I would say. Wala masyado sa upper box. But then again, the UST NU game was the same din naman. But I hope our fellow Ateneans will come to support the Blue Eagles on Wednesday as they try to keep their season alive. Again, they have a chance for at least a playoff with LaSalle,
Yeah.
or at least a step ladder.
Yeah, we'll talk more about yung possible scenarios later on. Going back to Ateneo versus Adamson, I think, yeah, you mentioned it. Si Mati Erolon was cooking, just like the other teams, diba? There's always like a player that loves to play against Ateneo. I don't know why. Parang Laging may player that could potentially have a season high against Ateneo.
Si Welo
That's always the
Lingolingo, si
danger. Well,
Joric, ngayon si Matt Erolon na,
Matt
Jerry
Erolon.
Abadiano.
Yeah. So I don't know what about Ateneo they love. They always bring out their A game against Ateneo. You mentioned yung defense against Cedric Manzano. Alam mo, ito lang yung masasabi ko. It's such a huge deal, literally or figuratively, na we actually have big guys that we can throw at Cedric Manzano this season. Remember last season, it was Porter, like 6'3" rookie with shoes guarding Cedric Manzano, big boy Cedric Manzano, and I think si Lazaro also had to guard Cedric Manzano. Uh, huge difference versus this year where si Divine and si ang Kimani Ladi na yung nagbabantay kay Manzano. I know Kimani's not huge but at least he's long, 'di ba? Meron ngang 'di ba meron like possession that Kimani guarded Manzano really well and then medyo nag-trash talk ata sila or nag-warning ata kay Kimani noon. But yeah, I think that's also like yung huge difference playing against Adamson, yung defense ng Ateneo against Adamson this year, especially on Cedric Manzano versus last year. Because last year, even nung preseason when Porter and Lazaro were trying to guard Manzano, he was just eating them up, diba? Like, easy. Barbecue chicken for Cedric Manzano. This one, like, he will still get to his spots, pero just make it as difficult as possible to him. Like, give yourself at least a chance. So I think yun yung huge thing about that. Like having big guys that can actually guard him versus last year. You talk about the
And
defense
sa
then I
amin, it's
think
not just having big guys because we all know na kahit may big guy kay Cedric Manzano, he will find a way to score.
he will find a
That's
way.
how
He will find a way, yeah.
that's how crafty he is. But it was showing a second body every time Cedric would get it in the paint. Every time he would make his move, spin baseline, he loves to do that. You spin baseline and create space and get that
May
very
help.
awkward reverse layup yung that he always does. There's always help. So it
Yeah.
was obvious that the game plan was to prevent Cedric from dominating the paint, and it worked. Even if Divine Adilu was a defender for majority of possessions, there was always help. There was always a second body showing up whenever Cedric Manzano would make his move, which worked. I mean, Cedric did not have a good game, did not dominate. Sammy, go ahead.
Yeah, and overall defense, diba? I think Waki, Ian Espinosa also had good defensive plays. I think Waki also blocked one or two shots. Si Dom Escobar, usually our best defender, was in peak form against Adamson offensively and defensively. So overall, good defensive game for Ateneo, I think. Um,
Forced Adamson
si
to 18% 3-point shooting, Sammy. I think that's big time. To one Adamson team that loves to shoot
the
threes.
loves to shoot threes. I think they were na-mention nila ano yun eh, ni na Bricks Ramos at the start of the game. Ateneo and Adamson are the top two teams when it comes to perimeter points. So, yun yung one of the keys to the game, sabi nila. Si On the other end, I think na-mention mo yung block party din ng Adamson. I think, alam mo sino yung underrated na defender para sa akin? Si Medina.
Oh, he's
He's
good.
he's
He's good.
good. And
He's a really good defender.
secretly good shot blocker siya, no? Kasi medyo mahaba din siya eh. I think he got like 2 blocks. Halimutan ko na kung sino blinak niya. And
Si Escobar yung isa,
yun,
and
Escobar, right.
forgot who the other one that he blocked.
Malala
But
ko sino.
he's made these plays over and over. He had
In past games, like
yeah,
against last UST, si Nick Caballero was posting him up. Tapos sabi ko,
yeah.
oh, this is
Yung
easy. And I
and then
remember
he did
he
a
turned around and then blocked Nick Caballero.
turnaround
So,
fade away. Earl Medina.
'di ba? So I really like this guy. This guy is super underrated as a defender because
You guys picked him for Rookie of the Year, crazily, in my opinion. But you and Maui picked him.
akala ko nga lang scorer siya or 3-point shooter, but I love the defense that I'm seeing from Earl Medina. So
Sam, you don't get playing time on Adamson if you don't play defense. I think
That's a
that
good
that's
point.
yung
That's a
that's a
good
main
point.
thing. If you're
If
playing for
you're
Coach
a
Nash, you have to know how
number
to defend.
if you're consistently a top two defensive team in the UAAP, you can't get minutes without defending. That's a good point. Yeah, so I think on Adamson's side, Erolon was cooking. Earl Medina looked really good. The future looks bright. But I do want to say, because Adamson lost, the season is over for them. I think this was the last game of Baby Boy, Big Boy Manzano, and the Ronzone twins. So shout out to them, number one. I think kudos to Baby
Classy
Boy
move by
Manzano.
yung classy move by Coach Nash, keeping I think Cedric in the game yung after a timeout, and then eventually you subbing him out in the next dead ball just to get an applause from the Adamson crowd and from the bench. It ang nakakaano lang sa amin, he's played
He
five
deserves it.
seasons. Yeah, he deserves it. He's played 5 seasons already for Adamson. But it's only been 3 years since he started to play for Adamson.
Oo
2022, he's
nga,
in
kasi
84.
nag 2 seasons in 1 year. Oo
Diba?
nga, no?
Or 4 years. Sige. 2022, 2023, 24, and 25. So,
Yeah.
4 years. So, diba? Kasi nag-isang season
Oo nga
nag 2 seasons
pala,
in 1 year.
in 1 year. Yeah, so Cedric Manzano, shout out to you. We've been huge fans of Cedric Manzano ever since season that the when they resumed after the pandemic. Uh Baby Boy nga tawag natin, 'di ba? We were part of the Baby Boy fan club. So I think he's going to get a good pro career. He had a good collegiate career. So good luck to Cedric Manzano. Adamson's gonna lose a real one. So not sure how they're going to fill that huge hole next year. But they do have a couple of young guys. So that's at least, 'di ba? May promising young guys sila, but we don't know if they can fill the shoes of Cedric Manzano. Shout out also to the Ronzone twins. Uh, Last year they didn't get to play much, but I think Austin
Grab.
Ronzone
I,
specifically.
I just have to say, ang dumi ni Austin Ronzone. I just have to say,
But
that guy's a
gaya
damn
nga,
good
tulad nga
fucking.
ng sabi mo, Gab, you don't get to minutes under Coach Nash Rosella if you don't play excellent defense. And I think Austin Ronzone is one of their best defenders. To be fair to him, like
Oh, he
this
is. He
season,
is.
but
He's definitely their best point of attack defender. One of the best point of attack defenders. I mean, tinatao niya sila Alarcon, Cortez, diba? Yun yung mga tinatao niya. So,
Bahay, yeah.
Bahay. So, you know that Coach Nash trusts. But, yeah, watching him live, I'm reminded of how freaking dirty of a player he is. Grabe. 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 He I think he tried to forearm Kaimani Ladi while Kaimani Ladi was doing a screen when Jared Bay was bringing it up the floor. He got an unsportsmanlike foul from there. Multiple times he was holding Bahay. Sinisiko niya si Jared. Man, just watching him play, man, uh, reminds me a lot of Chris Chu, to be
Chris
honest.
Chu,
You know,
sneaky.
you sneaky good boy face, pogi and all that. But when he plays, it's downright dirty, dirty.
Sneaky dirty, ano. Shout out to Chris Chu. Yeah, and I think for me, shout out to Coach Nash. I know na they normally Adamson always ends up at 5 or 4. We've always talked about this. When can Coach Nash bring this team
Actually,
to?
Sammy, this is the first time they're not in a play-in
They're not in
in
a
three
play-in for
seasons.
fourth.
Yeah, so I don't know. Is this I don't, Sammy? Would you consider this a good season for Adamson? Would you consider it successful?
Okay, if you look at it overall, would I consider it successful? No. Especially with how good Adamson looked like during the preseason. Kasi they were winning preseason leagues. They were preseason champions. So, we were expecting a lot. And actually, I picked them to make it to the Final Four. Sabi ko, sila yung last team to make it to the Final Four. Obviously, that's not gonna happen. So, this was definitely not a successful season. This was a disappointing season for them. But given how they started, they were like 1-4, and how good the other teams are, I still would like to commend Coach Nash. Kasi this team always fights and steady sila. Kung merong team na steady, like right there in the middle, that's always fighting, it's Adamson. Without, even if they don't have the biggest budget, they're always there. Kesa wala silang high, wala din silang low. So far, the past few seasons. So, I do have to commend Coach Nash with that. And there were a lot of games that they could have won. They had a lot of close games.
Oh,
So,
ang dami ng masakit na talo. Yun ang
madami silang
masabi.
masakit na talo. Yun din yun. So, I think like, if you just look at win-loss record, disappointing. They didn't even make it to the Final Four. But you saw how competitive they were. So, I think Coach Nash still deserves some credit. Gab.
I love how positive you are, Sammy, and optimistic. You're usually not like this.
maraming Adamson na galit kasi sa akin eh. So, ayoko na silang galitan. De, joke lang.
Di ako, I'm gonna be blunt. I don't think it was a successful season for the Adamson Soaring Falcons. I expected them to make it to the Final Four. Again,
Mataas kasi expectations this year, di ba?
With how they performed in the preseason, they looked really good. And to be honest, they could have made it. Again, I said, ang sakit ng mga talo. I'm trying to recall, first round against NU, they were up in the fourth quarter until Jake Figueroa happened. They should have won that game. Yun yung game na papasok ako ng MOA, ang alam ko lamang Adamson by 8. Pagpasok ko ng MOA, panalo na yung NU. I'm like, what? What the hell happened? And then, first round against FEU, painful. That should have been a win. Second round against
both
FEU.
Games against FEU. Yeah.
You both games against FEU, that should have been a win. First game of the season against LaSalle, that should have been a win. They were up on an Earl Medina 3. Diba? Until Jacob Cortez happened. That should have been a win. So, sakit. I know a lot of Adamson fans expected a lot
UP
from
din.
this.
The UP
yeah,
game.
Actually, the UP game, the second round. They came back. They were almost there. But yeah, a lot of our Adamson subscribers, our followers, we're expecting a lot from this Adamson team, and I don't, I don't fault them for it because, ang daming achievement eh. They loaded up. They addressed positions of need. They got a future, a star in Ray Allen Torres. They still had Cedric Manzano. They still had a good defensive center in OJ Ojericre. They had a lot of young bigs. They deep perimeter lineup. But they just malas. May halong malas din. May halong malas. So I don't think it was successful at all. But in a season where possibly yung magiging number 4 is only 7-7.
They should have
possibly, diba? Going 6-8, I don't think it's that bad. Diba? May possible kung nalo ang Ateneo sa Wednesday, ang possible record ng 4th seed is 7-7. So you have to take that as a minor win siguro if you're Adamson fan. You came close. You were there.
They missed it by a game.
Yeah, 1 game away from the Final Four, which is kind of the same as saying in the play-in. They were 1 game away from making it to the Final Four. Season 86 din, di ba? Natalo sila sa Ateneo sa play-in. So, masakit, but lots to look forward to. I think only those 3 are graduating. So, majority of their perimeter rotation still intact. That Manzano...
Competente hopefully will get back.
Competente hopefully will be back. Ray Allen Torres, that 3-headed guard lineup, Torres, Erolon, and Montebon will still be together. So, still gonna be solid for next season. That Manzano question mark will definitely hang over their heads. Who will step up in the interior for Adamson? Because that's a big loss. He was the only one competent enough to match up to the bigs of the UAAP offensively and defensively. And that's despite him being smaller than majority of the bigs. Just because he was that strong.
Yeah. I will say though, yung may halong malas, I think one of the players that sort of disappointed me this season was AJ Franzman. I think he was really good nung preseason, but during the season, actually he had a good start, pero
He
the
had his
second
moments. He
round
had his
parang he
moments.
had his moments, pero not as consistent as I wanted him to be. I think like last year he was a bit more consistent. Royce Mantua was also very good for them last year. I thought he would sort of get more of the scoring load, or si Medina din. But yeah, I mean, they still have some guys next year. Si Manzano talaga yung biggest problem. Uh, yeah, for Ateneo, anything else you want to add?
Uh, I'm not saying they're back. Yun lang masasabi ko. But yeah, gotta leave it all on the floor on Wednesday, and I do hope they bring the same defensive intensity because defense won them this game. It wasn't offense. It wasn't offense. It was defense. It was defense fueling offense that carried this win. So I do hope we see that same defensive intensity. Oh, it's gonna be lit on Wednesday, Sammy. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Before we talk about Wednesday, let's quickly talk about UST versus NU. So, we predicted, Gab, or at least sinabi natin na if we were Coach Jeff Napa, we wouldn't play the main guys. We were half right. They essentially played half a game, I would say. And then bandang dulo, they played the other guys na. So, congrats to UST for beating NU. Syempre
Secured the
for
Final
NU,
Four for the second
securing a
straight
Final
year.
Four slot.
We'll go against the UP Fighting Maroons again.
It's going to be a
Oh,
lock. Yun pa lang
yung
ang
we'll talk about that some other time. But I can't wait for that matchup.
may beef din doon. Thoughts, I guess like quick thoughts on the game, and then Maui did raise something na this game letting Jake Figueroa play this game might have cost him the MVP. I'm curious what you have to say about that.
Sige, I'll address that first. To be honest, I don't think Jake cares. I just think he wants to win a championship.
Focus
Uh,
on the
that's the
prize, the
goal.
main
And
prize. Yeah.
if and I think Coach Jeff Napa did the right thing by not playing him for majority of the second half. I think he started the third quarter, but he was when USA was making his run, Jeff Napa was just all yung on the bench like this, not doing anything, and he was not
Not caring.
you're not carrying anymore. So I think it was a smart move. I think we said an injury would be the worst thing that could have happened to NU in this game. Again, this was a game non-bearing. Nothing would have happened to them standings wise if they won or lost this game. So I think that was important that he got at least Jake Figueroa some rest. He did still play the other guys, so we'll talk about that later. But as to the MVP, yeah, it will probably go down to either Phillips or Pasaol for MVP. Now that Jake has finished his 14 games, but to us here on Boleros, I think we've said it. He's MVP for us,
The
without a doubt.
Boleros MVP.
They're the number one seed. They've been the best team for majority of the season. He's elevated his game to another level. Jake Figueroa is our MVP. I don't think we would have any argument here. I think I've decided it already back then. He's the MVP. So it's not going to affect our pick. But for the statistical points sake, yeah, it's not going to be him. Which is why I hate such statistical points. I hate it because you yeah, you have a couple of bad games, but you take the entirety of the season and take the entirety of the narrative, and Jake Figueroa should be the MVP. But the statistical points don't look that way, and it sucks. Uh, as to the game, actually, ang saya ng first half. Sabi ko, uy, siniseryo. I was there live.
Siniseryoso.
Oh, siniseryoso ng NU. I think UST got out to a 9-0 start. And the crowd was going crazy. Go Este was ringing in Moa Arena. But NU, just like as they've done throughout this season, they're patient. They don't falter. They don't fold. They just keep on running. They bring in si Palacelo. he hits a couple of jumpers. They bring in si Tebol Garcia. He gets a couple of layups. Si Jake Figueroa, yung hits a jumper. Si Omar Johnny gets an inside basket. And when you look up at the score, NU's up. And throughout all that, they're getting defensive stops over and over again. Much like Ateneo, defense fueling offense. That's how NU has operated for the majority of the season. Their defense remains solid, and their offense, they take their chances. If they get an open shot, they miss, okay lang. But they will rotate the basketball. Sometimes it will default to an isolation for Jake Figueroa, but that's his role.
Yeah, that's okay.
Pero ang ganda kasi NU got up also. They got up by a good margin. And then UST came back in the first half. And I think it ended up a 1-point game at the end of the first half. Ang ganda kasi if you were there live, Sammy, makita mo talaga na may beef between Collins Akowe and Omar John.
Ano nangyayari?
Every time nangyari si Omar John post up, babanggain niya si Collins Akowe. Collins Akowe would just smile. Sige, try mo. And then Omar John would get yung got a hook shot yung over him, tapos tatawanan ni Omar John si Collins Akowe. Tapos magkakamayan sila. Pero on the next play, babanggain naman ni Collins Akowe si Omar John. Ang daming extracurricular activities by these two. There's obviously beef between Collins Akowe and Omar John.
Do you feel like legit beef or like a friend?
I think it's legit beef. I think in the fourth quarter, Collins Akowe got an N1 over Omar John. He screamed. Not in Omar John's face, but in Omar John's proximity, he screamed and he was letting the NU Bulldogs know.
I love this.
I love it. There's definitely beef. Ang saya panoorin. The other matchup that I loved seeing, si Nick Cabanero, I think had 4 of the first 9 points or 7 of the first 9 points or something like that for UST. Jake Figueroa just said, "Give me the matchup." Papuntayan ko si Cabanero.
I'm guarding.
Ang saya panoorin ng matchup ni...
Solid si Jake Figueroa. Hindi mo din siya pwedeng bungguin. Nick Cabanero is big, but Jake Figueroa is also solid.
Yeah, and may one offensive possession where Nick Cabanero cooked Jake Figueroa. Like, did a double crossover between the legs, spun, and then yung crossover again into an up and under layup. And ako napatayo, like, what the hell was that? Ang galing. So, ang ganda ng matchup na yun. Sayang hindi sila magtatapat sa Final Four, pero who knows, yung baka in the finals. I would love to see. May chance. I would love to see more
for UST.
UST versus NU. Again, there is beef. There is beef between Collins Akowe and the NU Bulldogs. So, yun masaya panoorin. But in the second half, I think it was NU got up big. Hindi naman big, pero 9 points, 48 to 39. I think back-to-back threes by Steve Nash Enriquez and Paul Francisco. Tapos, I think nilabas na si Jake Figueroa at that point. And then, UST went on a torrid run. I think they went a total of 27-7 run, bridging the third and fourth quarters, and they never looked back. They were generating a ton of open shots. Jello Crisostomo hit big threes. Amiel Asido hit big threes. Mark Liemet had some clutch drives. Si Collins Akowe yung had a dunk. It was UST. Si Kyle Paranada yung hit a couple of jumpers yung over Tebol Garcia. So UST was just humming, but NU didn't care anymore at this point. Actually, yung big winner nga si Nat Tolabut had a career game.
He led the team. Tama ba? Did he lead?
Yeah.
Hindi. Si Omar John pala. But like Tolabut was the second leading scorer. 10 points. 2 threes.
8 points in the first half. It was actually one of the magic bunuts of Coach Jeff. So he benefited from Jake Figueroa sitting for majority of the second half and of the game actually. But yeah, and Coach Jeff Napa yung didn't care anymore in the half of the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, yung pinamigay na niya. And congrats to UST. They lock up another Final Four. They're in the playoffs. Uh, whether you wanted NU or you wanted the UP Fighting Maroons, I don't think you would care right now. But you're facing the UP Fighting Maroons. Tough task ahead. Tough task
Mm-hmm.
ahead. They are the defending champions. They are
Mm-hmm.
huge.
Twice to
You
beat pa.
did, yeah, and you ganda kasi tinambakan nila nung first round, and then the second round they almost beat them if only they hit a couple more free throws. They
Free
missed
throws, yeah.
24. So they're gonna want to take revenge on the UP Fighting Maroons. I would love to see that. But we do have to talk about the upcoming final games of the elimination round, Sammy. But
Yeah,
ikaw,
so
if you have any thoughts on the UST-NU game, go lang.
no, I think yun lang. But I do want to give credit to the UST Growling Tigers. No, alam natin na it was non-bearing for NU, but UST still had to make those shots, and they were really hot. Lalo na nung bandang second half when they made
And
that
NU
run.
was still playing majority of its rotational guys. Si Omar Chan
Except
was
for
still
Jake, yeah, yeah.
playing. Si Tebol was still playing. Si Paul Francisco, sila Mark
Francisco,
Marks.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, they were all still playing. So, semi-tank siguro si Coach Jeff.
Semi-tank.
He was just trying to preserve si Jake siguro.
Hindi naman full tank, more like Kawhi level lang, resting.
Load
Kawhi
management.
level resting, load management. Yeah, so congrats to UST for making it to the Final Four. Now let's talk about the playoff picture. So I know maraming tao talking about the different scenarios. Um, kung manalo UST or manalo FEU, manalo Lasal versus manalo Ateneo. Gab, alam ko memorize mo na to. For the listeners out there, briefly summarize. Ano ba yung mga potential scenarios natin in the Final Four depending on the winners of the last two games of the season?
I just want to say, with UST's win against NU, they have virtually locked up the third seed. I don't think they're playing for much. I don't think they're playing for anything at all in the game versus FEU. So that is in FEU's favor. If USC does something like what NU did to them, and rest guys for what, half a game, FEU will benefit because they will have a good chance of winning. So the easy way to think of this: if LaSalle wins, regardless of what happens in the UST FEU game, LaSalle will be fourth, UST
Fourth
will be
place.
third. Yeah, so regardless of what happens, if LaSalle wins, it doesn't matter what happens in the UST and FEU game. Okay, so if UST wins, UST is 3, yung LaSalle's 4. If FEU wins, UST is still number 3, LaSalle is still number 4. So it doesn't matter as long as LaSalle wins. Now, if Ateneo wins, then the result of the UST and FEU game will matter. Because if UST wins against FEU and Ateneo wins against LaSalle, we'll have a playoff between Ateneo and LaSalle. Again, here we go. Between Ateneo and LaSalle for the last Final Four spot. That will probably happen on Sunday because it's the cheer dance competition on Saturday.
Oo
Sakto, may
nga
kasal
pala,
akong
cheer dance
pupuntahan.
pa. Oo nga
Sakto, may
pala.
kasal akong pupuntahan on Saturday. Walang UAAP game. Hindi ko kailangan.
Schedule nila yun, Gab. Sinabihan ko sila na hindi ka pwede sa Saturday. Kaya wag sila mag-schedule.
Ay, ako. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Pero yeah, it will most probably happen on Sunday. So that's what happens if UST wins and Ateneo wins. If FEU and Ateneo both win, we'll have a step ladder. And I think Ateneo has the best quotient of the three because LaSalle, Ateneo, and FEU will all end at 7-7. There will be a playoff between FEU and LaSalle. Whoever wins will face Ateneo, and they will face off uh, in a playoff on who will make number 4. So I think that's the easiest way to think about it. If you're FEU, win that game and pray to Mother Mary, to Saint Ignatius, that Ateneo will win against LaSalle because it's out of their hands after their
Right.
game.
That's a good point. It's out of their hands. Yeah, so ito yung interesting na gusto natin, 'di ba? Like maraming possible scenarios. A few things that I wanna say. First of all, I think ganda ng time. I mean, we okay, first. First of all, I know this game got suspended or got delayed because of the typhoon. So, ayaw naman natin na may typhoon, 'di ba? Prayers to everyone who was affected during the typhoon. But it just so happens na the Ateneo versus LaSalle matchup, which is a rivalry matchup, a matchup that people are always looking forward to, just got even more interesting because this is essentially a, more or less a battle for a chance at Final Four or a guaranteed Final Four slot. It's still a rivalry match. Um, LaSalle, this is an opportunity for LaSalle not only to get revenge against their first round loss against Ateneo, but also to eliminate Ateneo, which makes LaSalle getting this win even sweeter. Lastly, I think we have to remember Mason's back. Mason Amos is actually back. Um, so he gets
Oh,
a
he would love
chance.
this. He would love this.
Diba? He would get a chance to get back at Ateneo and eliminate his former team. So, maraming storylines dito sa Ateneo versus LaSalle rivalry match. So, I think that makes that matchup obviously the very last game of the season probably one of the most interesting games of the year.
You talk about
Second,
storylines.
storylines. Second,
Galiana is suspended.
okay, sige, we can go there. I was gonna say something else, but sige, let's go to the Guliana suspension. So, I know you're I think we sort of expected Guliana to be suspended given yung mga previous calls, especially the ones against Boris Marasigan. But because of this Guliana suspension, na-bring up ulit yung yung non-suspension kay Gani Stevens. And I know how you feel. I don't know. So, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like Goliana deserved the suspension?
No, no. Uh, if it were any other season, if that Gani Stevens incident did not happen, I would say that Goliana would have been suspended. Clearly, close fist yung kahit gaano man kahina yung tama niya kay Noruka. It was a closed fist. It was a punch. No matter how weak it was. So
Normally
if
kasi
it
they
were
just define it by a closed fist, eh, di ba?
so automatically, if in any other season it would have been a suspension, but I don't think it should have been in this season. Again, they gave Gani Stevens a pass. Clearly, the replay, he hit kay Manilari in the nuts and was
With
just
a
given
closed
an
fist.
with a closed fist, and it was just given an unsportsmanlike foul. No ejection, no no reprimand, no suspension, nothing. Heck, we before we even came on here, Sammy, we saw an article that they even reprimanded Coach Nash for his tay with Mike Phillips in their game. Remember? Diba, yun yung nagkasagutan sila ni Mike, and he got a letter daw. Kahit ganun, yung wala si Gani Stevens eh. Sorry about that. So, yung kahit ganun, wala si Gani Stevens. Not even a reprimand. Don't get it. It just looks so sus. It looks bad. It's glaring that something like that happened and nothing happened. And then in the next game, literally the next game, they suspend the guy for something way less. Looks bad. Looks bad on the UAAP. They look like clowns.
I think for me, like, yung just be consistent about it. Like, if it's doesn't deserve a suspension, if Gani didn't get a suspension, okay, then maybe Guliana shouldn't have been suspended. I guess that's like the ano ba yung gravity na ano ba yung difference nung gravity um nung actions nila, 'di ba? Like the Voris one, the Gani one, the Guliana one. I think normally kasi tama ka eh. If it were like other seasons, I think normally they just look at it as like a close fist hit. That's it. No matter how hard it is or not. And I think for us, we're very I think even yung kay Welo Lingo Lingo, we've always said just don't do any dirty or dangerous plays. We've been strongly against that. We were very vocal about the Welo Lingo Lingo dive over Baklan, even though he didn't mean to, diba? So I think anytime you do like a close fist hit, no matter how strong, again, especially towards sensitive areas like the gut, the crotch area, it it's not a good look, I would say. So I think that's where we're coming from. Um, yeah, so Lasal already missing Baklaan, will miss out on EJ Goliana, who's been solid for them. I think the good news for them is Mason was able to come back last game. I'm expecting Mason to play, especially knowing this is against Ateneo. But it's going to
Yep.
be
Of course he'll play. He'll want to play.
they
Knowing Mason.
need the same Boris Marasigan that they had in the last game, especially with EJ Goliana out. I think. Yeah, so that's for Ateneo Lasal. Um, the other thing that I wanted to say is when you were going through the scenarios, you're telling me that there's a possible scenario where Ateneo and FEU might face each other again. Masyado
I
atang
don't.
maaga yung sinabi ko last episode na goodbye Joric Bautista. I don't think I'm ready for this. Like, that's crazy, but it's always a banger when it's Ateneo versus FU, if ever that
It
happens.
is, and I don't know which scares me more, Mike Phillips or Joric Bautista, at this
They
point.
both like to play against Ateneo. Let's just put it that way.
Yep, they do. And if we saw the Mike Phillips in the UP game, if we see the same Mike Phillips in the UP game come out here in this Ateneo game,
Oh my god.
Ateneo's gonna have a hard time winning this game. Divine Adili has to stay out of foul trouble. Kay Maniladi has to stay out of foul trouble. I think Kay Maniladi had two early fouls in that
Yeah,
Adamson
the
game and
technical
sat
pa,
nearly
the
the
technical.
entire second quarter. You got a technical, I think,
Yeah,
diba, for taunting.
taunting.
So he has to play smarter. Play good, clean defense, not get into fouls. Same with Divine. Or else it's gonna
You
be a
also
lot of
got a technical,
Lars
yung
Fielbang.
tripping, I think, na ano niya si Erolon.
Yep,
I think, no matter what, I think we have to see Lars Fielvang because we need to throw big bodies at Mike.
yep. Lars Fielbang and maawa na tayo kay Josh Lazaro. Oh my God, Josh is gonna get he's gonna have his hands full. But let's see. For Mike, for LaSalle, they have to find a way to get Jacob Cortez out of his slump because despite scoring
Good
14 points
point.
against UP, he was still slumping very much. And they have also, if they're gonna play Mason, I think they're gonna learn from what happened in the first round. They're gonna have to find a way to hide Mason, especially if they play him for big minutes because he's gonna be targeted. Coach Tab did this. I think he's gonna do it again if he sees Mason Amos there. So um, let's see how Mason responds. Let's see how Coach Topex rotates his players. Uh, let's see how Ateneo tries to answer the biggest problem in Mike Phillips, and let's see how the others perform. Yung for Lasal, will we see another big Marasigan game? Will we see another Abadam game? Will we see someone else step up? Maybe Adoy Dungo,
Pablo,
Pablo,
Dungo,
yung JC Makalalag.
Makalalag.
Let's see. Exciting, man. It's Monday pa lang pero kinakabahan na ako. kinakabahan na ako.
Yung
Kinakabahan.
anxiety, no?
Anxiety, anticipation. I haven't felt like this for an Ateneo Lasal game in years siguro. Years. Diba? Stakes are high. Stakes are high once again. And I do hope that both crowds will come on Wednesday. And Let the best team win. Yun lang masasabi ko. Oh my gosh.
May the best team win. So, I think that's it for today's episode. We'll definitely cover the final two games of the season this coming Wednesday. If you haven't yet, please comment down below your thoughts on the games yesterday and your thoughts on the upcoming games this Wednesday. Please like this video, share with your friends, share with yourselves, share with your friends, subscribe, and last statement for the day. Please comment down below your thoughts, fill in the blanks. Blank is back. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.